We often talk about fixing the world, fixing other people, or fixing situations that seem out of control. We point fingers, complain, and get frustrated when things don't go our way. But how often do we look in the mirror and ask, what about me? What do I need to fix in myself? A lot of us focus on what's wrong around us, but real change starts inside. If you want to change your life and get to where you want to be, you have to start by fixing yourself first. Let me be honest with you, this isn't easy. It's not glamorous and it doesn't happen overnight. Fixing yourself is the hardest thing you'll ever do. It means facing parts of yourself you'd rather ignore, your flaws, your fears, your insecurities. It means taking responsibility for your actions and understanding that where you are in life is the result of the choices you've made. There's no shortcut here, no quick fixes. It's a daily effort, a process that takes time, patience, and a lot of work. But the good news is, it's worth it. Every step you take toward becoming a better version of yourself is a step toward freedom. It's a step toward peace. Fixing yourself doesn't just change your life, it changes the way you live your life. It changes how you see yourself, how you see the world, and how you interact with others. Once you've done the hard work on yourself, nobody can take that away from you. So where do we start? We start by being honest with ourselves. This is the part many people avoid. We often make excuses telling ourselves why we haven't achieved what we want, why we're stuck, or why we can't move forward. We blame other people, bad luck, or circumstances. But as long as you keep blaming everything outside of yourself, you give away your power. You're saying, I have no control over my life. But that's not true. You have more control than you think. The problem is, it's easier to look for excuses than to face the truth. The truth is, if your life isn't where you want it to be, it's not because of what someone else did. It's because of the choices you've made. Now, I know life can be tough. Things happen that are beyond our control. People hurt us, betray us, or leave us. But how you respond to those things is up to you. You can let them define you, or you can rise above them. Rising above starts by taking responsibility for your life, your choices, your actions, your behavior. So step one in fixing yourself is being real about where you are and how you got here. Ask yourself, what habits are holding me back? What mindset is keeping me stuck? Maybe it's that negative voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough. Maybe it's a fear of failure that stops you from even trying. Or maybe you're stuck in a cycle of blaming others for your problems to take responsibility for your own happiness. Now here's the thing. Nobody likes to hear that. They're the reason they're stuck. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, but growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discomfort. The moment you start taking ownership of where you are is the moment you start getting the power to change it. That's the real shift. You stop waiting for someone or something to come along and fix your life. And you start realizing that fixing your life is your responsibility. It's your job. And that's empowering because it means you can change. But first you've got to face yourself, and that's not easy. See, it's easy to look outside yourself and point fingers. It's easy to say, if only they hadn't done this to me, or if only life hadn't been so hard, but that won't fix anything. What will fix your life is turning the spotlight inward and asking, what do I need to change about myself? What behaviors do I need to let go of? What thought patterns do I need to break in this hard work? It takes humility, it takes courage, but it's the only way forward. Let me tell you something about excuses. They're like a safety net. They keep you from having to face the uncomfortable truth about where you are and why, but at the same time, they keep you stuck. They keep you from growing, from reaching your potential. If you want to change, you've got to cut the excuses. You've got to stop saying I can't because and start saying I can and I will. Because the reality is nobody is going to come along and do it for you. Nobody is going to swoop in and magically make your life better. It's on you. And as soon as you accept that, as soon as you embrace that responsibility, that's when real change begins. And look, fixing yourself doesn't mean you have to do it all overnight. It's a process, it's a journey, But every step you take in the direction of owning your life, owning your choices, is a step toward freedom. It's a step toward becoming the person you were meant to be. And that starts with self-awareness. You've got to know yourself. You've got to understand what makes you tick, what triggers you, what habits you formed that are holding you back. And you've got to be willing to put in the work to change those habits, to rewire your thinking, to create new patterns that serve you instead of hinder you. A lot of people out here want a quick fix. They want someone to come along and hand them the life they want, but that's not how it works if you want a different life. You've got to be willing to do the hard work of transformation. You've got to be willing to dig deep and confront the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. You've got to be willing to get uncomfortable, to face your fears, to challenge your limiting beliefs, because that's where growth happens. That's where change happens. Now, let's talk about habits for a minute. See, your habits are like the foundation of your life. If your habits are weak, your life will be weak. If your habits are strong, your life will be strong. So take a look at your daily habits. Are they moving you closer to the person you want to be? Or are they keeping you stuck in the same place? Are you spending your days on autopilot, doing the same things over and over, expecting different results? Or are you intentionally creating habits that align with your goals, with the life you want to live? Fixing yourself means getting intentional about your habits. It means recognizing that your daily actions, no matter how small, are shaping your future. Every decision you make, every choice you make is either moving you closer to the life you want or further away from it. So, if you want to fix your life, you've got to start by fixing your habits. You've got to create habits that support your growth, that see you to be better, that challenge you to rise to the occasion. And here's the truth. It's not going to be easy. There will be days when you want to give up, when it feels like the change isn't happening fast enough, when you're tempted to go back to your old ways. But that's when you've got to dig deep. That's when you've got to remind yourself why you started in the first place. You've got to have a vision for your life that's bigger than your current circumstances. You've got to believe that you are capable of more, that you deserve more. Then you've got to practice, put in the work every single day to make that vision a reality. Now, I'm not saying this to be harsh. I'm saying it because I believe in you. I believe in the power of transformation. I believe that no matter where you are right now, no matter how stuck you feel, you have the ability to change your life. But it starts with you. It starts with taking responsibility for where you are. And it starts with a commitment to do the work to get where you want to be. Let me give you a little bit of advice. Stop waiting for the perfect time to start. Stop waiting for everything to line up just right before you take action. The perfect time doesn't exist. You've got to start where you are with what you have. You've got to make a decision that enough is enough, and then you've got to take action no matter how small. Because it's the small, consistent actions that lead to big changes over time. And here's the thing, nobody can do this work for you. You've got to want it for yourself. You've got to want to be better, to do better than better. You've got to want it so bad that you're willing to put in the effort, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. It's your journey, and you are the only one who can walk it. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop looking for someone else to come along and fix things for you. The power is in your hands. The power is in your choices. The power is in your willingness to do the work. And when you embrace that power, when you take full ownership of your life, there's nothing you can't achieve. Fixing yourself isn't about perfection. It's about waking up every day with the intention to be better than you were yesterday. It's about taking responsibility for your actions, for your mindset, for your behavior. It's about committing to your own growth, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard. Because in the end, the person you become through that process, that's the real reward. That's where the true transformation happens. So if you're ready to fix yourself, if you're ready to take control of your life, if you're ready to become the person you were meant to be, then start today. Start right now. Look in the mirror and get honest with yourself. Take ownership of where you are and make a commitment to do whatever it takes to get where you want to be. Because the only person who can fix your life is you. And trust me, you've got what it takes. You just have to believe it. Whatever it is, you've got to face it. You've got to be willing to look at your own reflection and say, I'm the problem, but I'm also the solution. And that's a powerful realization, because the moment you accept responsibility for your life is the moment you take back control. It's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to save you. Take back control and start saving yourself. Now, after you've gotten real with yourself, it's time to make a plan. See, fixing yourself isn't just about identifying what's wrong. It's about taking action to make it right. And this is where a lot of folks get stuck. They think that because they've acknowledged their flaws, that's enough. But let me tell you, acknowledgement without action is useless. It's like knowing you're out of shape, but never going to the gym. You can talk about it all day long, but until you put in the work, nothing's going to change. So you've got to make a plan. What are the areas of your life that need fixing? Is it your mindset, your habits, your relationships, your health, whatever it is? Break it down into manageable steps. Don't try to fix everything at once, because that's overwhelming. Focus on one area at a time and commit to making small, consistent changes. Remember, progress isn't about perfection. It's about moving forward one step at a time. Let's talk about mindset for a second, because this is one of the biggest things that holds people back. If you've got a negative self-defeating mindset, it doesn't matter how much work you put in. It'll never be enough. Your mind is the engine that drives your actions. And if that engine is broken, you're not going anywhere. So the first thing you've got to do is fix the way you talk to yourself. Pay attention to the thoughts running through your head on a daily basis. Are they lifting you up or tearing you down? Most people don't realize just how toxic their inner dialogue is. They walk around with this loop of negativity playing in their heads, telling themselves they're not good enough, that they'll never succeed, that they're stuck where they are. But let me tell you something. That's not the truth. That's just a story you've been telling yourself for so long that you've started to believe it. And if you keep feeding yourself that story, guess what? It's going to be your reality. Your reality, you've got to flip the script. You've got to start feeding yourself a new narrative, one that's grounded in possibility, not limitation. I'm not saying you should walk around in some delusional state, pretending like everything's perfect. No, I'm talking about being realistic but optimistic. You've got to believe in your own potential. You've got to remind yourself that you're capable, that you have the power to change, that your past doesn't define your future. Because if you don't believe in yourself, who else will? And it's not just about changing your thoughts. It's about reinforcing those new thoughts with action. It's about creating new habits that align with the mindset you want to cultivate. If you keep telling yourself you're going to change but don't do anything differently, you're just fooling yourself. Change happens in the day-to-day decisions. It's in the small choices you make that either move you closer to life you want or keep you stuck in the one you've got. So if you've been telling yourself you want to get healthier, start by making one small change today. Maybe it's drinking more water, maybe it's taking a walk, maybe it's cutting down junk food. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to overhaul your entire life in one go. Focus on building momentum with small, manageable changes. The same goes for your career, your relationships, your finances, whatever you're trying to improve. Break it down and tackle it one step at a time. Now let's talk about discipline, because let's be real, motivation is fleeting. You're not always going to feel like doing the work. There are going to be days when you don't want to get out of bed, when you don't want to face the challenges ahead of you. And that's where discipline comes in. Discipline is doing what needs to be done. Even when you don't feel like doing it, showing up for yourself day in and day out, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Most people, they need to feel motivated to take action. But the truth is, action creates motivation. The more you show up for yourself, the more you build that sense of accomplishment, and that's what fuels your motivation. So don't wait around for the perfect moment when you feel ready to change, because that moment might never come. Start now, start today. Push through the resistance. And you'll find that the more you push, the easier it gets. And remember, nobody's perfect. You're going to slip up. You're going to make mistakes. That's part of the process, but don't let those moments of failure to find you. Don't use them as an excuse to give up. When you fall down, you get back up every time. That's what builds resilience. That's what builds strength. And that's what ultimately leads to transformation. Another thing you've got to address is your environment. Because let me tell you, you can have all the willpower and determination in the world, but if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, by people who drag you down, it's going to be a lot harder to stay on track. So take a look at the people in your life. Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they supporting your growth or holding you back? You've got to be intentional about the company you keep. If you're serious about fixing yourself, you've got to surround yourself with people who challenge you, who inspire you, who hold you accountable. Because the people you spend the most time with will influence your mindset, your habits, and your actions. So choose wisely. And if that means you've got to distance yourself from certain people, so be it. Your growth has to be your priority. Now let's talk about patience, because in today's world, we're so used to instant gratification. We want everything now, success, happiness, fulfillment, but real lasting change doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes persistence. And you've got to be willing to stay the course even when the results aren't immediate. A lot of people give up too soon because they don't see the results right away. But just because you're not seeing progress in the moment doesn't mean it's not happening. Change is often happening beneath the surface in ways you can't see right away. So don't get discouraged. Keep going. Trust the process. Because if you stay consistent, the results will come. But you've got to be patient. And while you're working on fixing yourself, don't forget to practice self-compassion. Because this journey is tough. It's going to test you. It's going to push you to your limits. And there will be times when you feel like you're not making progress fast enough. Or when you're hard on yourself for not being where you want to be. But remember, you're human. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have bad days. That doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're in the process of growth. So be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. Celebrate your progress no matter how small. And keep moving forward, even when it's hard. Even when it feels like you're not getting anywhere. Because the only way to fail is to give up. As long as you're moving forward, you're winning. And finally, don't lose sight of why you're doing this. Fixing yourself isn't just about achieving external success. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. It's about living a life that's aligned with your values, your purpose, your potential. It's about being able to look in the mirror and be proud of who you see, not because of what you've accomplished, but because of who you become in the process. So take responsibility for your life. Make a plan. Take action. Be disciplined. Surround yourself with positivity. Be patient. And most importantly, believe in yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are the only one who can fix yourself. You are the only one who can create the life you want. And trust me, you're more than capable of doing it. You just got to be willing to put in the work, to face the discomfort, to push through the resistance, and to keep going. No matter what. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Because the person you become on the other side of that journey, that person is unstoppable. That person is unshakable. That person is you fully realize, and nothing more powerful than that. If you're constantly telling yourself that you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, that nothing ever works out for you, then guess what? You're setting yourself up for failure before you even begin. You've got to learn to become your own biggest cheerleader, not your own worst critic. Start feeding your mind with positivity, with encouragement, with belief. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? And this isn't just about thinking happy thoughts. This is about rewiring your brain, retraining yourself to focus on what's possible instead of what's holding you back. It's about developing a mindset that says, I can do this. I am capable, I am worthy of success, because once you change your mindset, everything else starts to fall into place. Next, let's talk about habits, because let's face it, your habits are either making you or breaking you. The things you do every day, the routines you follow, the choices you make, those are what shape your life. If you've got bad habits, it doesn't matter how much you want to change, you're going to stay stuck in the same place. So if you want to fix yourself, you've got to start by fixing your habits. Now, this isn't about willpower. A lot of people think that changing habits is about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. But the truth is, willpower only gets you so far. What really changes habits is consistency. It's about doing the right things over and over again until they become second nature. And yes, that takes time. Yes, it takes discipline, but the reward is a life that reflects the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. Let's break it down. If you've got a habit of procrastinating or putting things off until the last minute, it's not just about deciding one day that you're going to stop. No, it's about creating a new habit, one that focuses on action. Maybe that means setting small, achievable goals each day. Maybe that means committing to doing just one thing right now instead of being overwhelmed by everything you have to do. The key is to start small and build momentum. Every time you take action, you're breaking the old habit and reinforcing the new one. Same goes for your health. If you've developed unhealthy eating habits or a lack of exercise, don't try to change everything all at once. That's a recipe for failure. Instead, focus on one small change. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's taking a walk every day. Maybe it's swapping out that junk food for something healthier. Small steps lead to big changes over time, but you've got to stay consistent. That's the thing about habits. They don't change overnight. You didn't develop your bad habits in one day, so don't expect to change them in one day either. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about making small adjustments and sticking with them until they become part of who you are. And here's the thing, your habits are a reflection of your self-worth. If you value yourself, you'll develop habits that reflect that value. You'll take care of your body, your mind, and your spirit because you know you deserve to live a healthy, fulfilling life. But if you don't believe you're worth it, you'll continue to sabotage yourself with bad habits. So if you want to fix your habits, you've got to fix your mindset first. This is where self-discipline comes in. See, discipline isn't about punishment or deprivation. It's about self-love. It's about caring enough about yourself to make the call. Tough decisions that are going to lead to your growth and your success. It's about saying no to the things that are holding you back. And yes, to the things that are going to push you forward. Now let's talk about consistency because that's what separates those who succeed from those who don't. It's easy to start strong. Everybody is motivated at the beginning, but what happens when the excitement fades? What happens when you don't feel like putting the work anymore? That's where consistency comes in. You've got to show up every day. Even when you don't feel like it, you've got to keep pushing forward. Even when you don't see the results right away, that's where most people give up. They expect instant results, and when they don't get them, they quit. But real change, real success takes time. It takes persistence. It takes the willingness to keep going, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable. So how do you stay consistent? You create systems, you create routines, you make it as easy as possible to stick to your habits. If you're trying to get in shape, sit out your workout clothes the night before. If you're trying to eat healthier, meal prep, so you're not tempted to grab something quick and unhealthy. Make it easy for yourself to do the right thing and hard for yourself to do the wrong thing. And remember, discipline isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up, doing your best, and getting a little bit better every day. Some days you're going to slip up, some days you're not going to hit your goals. That's okay. What matters is that you don't quit. What matters is that you get back on track and keep moving forward. Let's shift gears and talk about the company you keep, because let's be honest, your environment plays a huge role in your success or failure. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, by people who don't believe in you, by people who are content to stay stuck, it's going to be a lot harder for you to rise above that. You've got to be intentional about who you let into your life. If you're serious about fixing yourself, you've got to surround yourself with people who are on the same path, people who are striving for more, who are pushing themselves to be better, who are committed to growth, because those people are going to lift you up. They're going to hold you accountable. They're going to inspire you to keep going, even when it's tough. But if you're surrounded by people who are content to stay where they are, people who are negative, who complain all the time, who make excuses, guess what? That energy is going to rub off on you. You're going to start adopting those same habits, those same mindsets. So if you want to fix yourself, you've got to take a hard look at the people in your life. Are they helping you grow, or are they holding you back? And sometimes that means making tough decisions. Sometimes that means distancing yourself from people who aren't good for you. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about protecting your energy, protecting your growth. You can't afford to let other people's negativity derail your progress. So be intentional about who you surround yourself with. Now, let's talk about resilience, because let's face it, life is going to knock you down. It's inevitable. You're going to face setbacks. You're going to face challenges. You're going to face failure. But here's the thing, failure isn't final. Setbacks aren't the end of the road. It's how you respond to those setbacks that determines your success. Resilience is about getting back up every time you fall. It's about learning from your failures, not letting them define you. It's about understanding that setbacks are part of the process. They're not a sign that you should quit. They're a sign that you're on the right path, because growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. Growth happens when you're pushed to your limits, when you're forced to and you're tested. So when life knocks you down, don't stay down. Don't let that moment of failure convince you that you're not capable. Keep going. Get back up. Keep going. Use that setback as fuel to push you forward, because every time you get back up, you're stronger, you're wiser, and you're one step closer to the person you're meant to be. And finally, let's talk about the power of patience. In today's world, we're all about instant gratification. We want everything now, but real success, real growth takes time. It's a process. And if you're not willing to be patient, if you're not willing to stick with it, you're never going to see the results you want. Patience ain't about sitting back and waiting for things to happen. It's about doing the work every day, even when you don't see the results right away. It's about trusting the process, knowing that if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up, the results will come. So don't rush the process. Don't expect overnight success. Be patient. Be persistent. Keep going, even when it's hard. Even when it feels like you're not making progress, because the truth is you are making progress every step you take, every habit you change, every time you push yourself out of your comfort zone. You're growing, you're evolving, you're becoming the person you're meant to be. So believe in yourself, change your mindset, fix your habits, surround yourself with the right people, be resilient, be patient. And most importantly, keep going, because the only way to fail is to quit. And as long as you keep moving forward, as long as you keep pushing, you're winning. Start small, pick one habit that's not serving you. Whether it's staying up too late, eating junk food, procrastinating, whatever it is, and make a plan to replace it with something positive. Don't try to change everything at once, because that's a recipe for burnout. Focus on one habit at a time. And commit to sticking with it. Because here's the thing, success isn't about doing big things every now and then. It's about doing small things consistently over time. And let me tell you something about consistency, it's hard. It's easy to be motivated for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. But real change happens when you keep going long after the motivation wears off. It's about showing up for yourself every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about pushing through the discomfort, the setbacks, the temptation to quit. Because that's where the growth happens. That's where you fix yourself from the inside out. Now, I've got to talk about relationships, because this is an area where a lot of people get stuck. We all have people in our lives who bring us down, who hold us back, who keep us from reaching our full potential. And if you're serious about fixing yourself, you've got to be willing to take a hard look at the relationships you're keeping. Are the people in your life lifting you up, or are they pulling you down? Are they supporting your growth, or are they keeping you stuck in the same old patterns? You've got to surround yourself with people who challenge you to be better, who believe in your potential, who push you to grow. And sometimes that means letting go of relationships that no longer serve you. It's hard, it's painful, But it's necessary if you want to fix yourself. And let me be clear about something. Fixing yourself isn't about cutting people out of your life just because they're not perfect. We all have flaws, we all have struggles, but if someone is constantly bringing negativity into your life, if they're holding you back from being the person you want to be, you've got to ask yourself, is this relationship helping me or hurting me? And if the answer is hurting, you've got to have the courage to make a change. That doesn't mean you don't love them. That doesn't mean you don't care about them. But sometimes loving yourself means you've got to love people from a distance. You've got to protect your peace, your growth, your progress. And if someone is making it harder for you to be the best version of yourself, that's not love, that's a distraction. That's someone keeping you stuck in the same place. Let me tell you something, the people you surround yourself with have a huge impact on your life, whether you realize it or not. If you're hanging around people who complain all the time, who make excuses, who don't take responsibility for their own lives, that energy is going to rub off on you. You might not even realize it at first, but eventually you'll start picking up those same habits, those same mindsets, and before you know it, you're stuck in the same negative cycle there. But if you're around people who are striving to be better, who are pushing themselves to grow, who are committed to their own success, that energy is going to inspire you. You're going to start thinking differently. You're going to start believing yourself more. You're going to start taking action toward your goals. That's the power of your environment. It can either lift you up or drag you down, and you've got to be intentional about which one you choose. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to let go of relationships that aren't serving you. It's not. In fact, it can be one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But here's the thing. If you're serious about fixing yourself, you've got to be willing to make tough choices. You've got to be willing to prioritize your growth over your comfort. And sometimes that means walking away from people who aren't willing to grow with you. And let me tell you something else. Fixing yourself isn't just about the people you surround yourself with. It's also about the way you talk to yourself. Because if you're constantly feeding yourself negative thoughts, if you're constantly telling yourself that you're not good enough, that you don't deserve success, that you're going to fail, then guess what? That's exactly what's going to happen. You've got to change the way you speak to yourself. You've got to become your own biggest cheerleader, not your own worst critic. You've got to start feeding your mind with positivity, with encouragement, with belief. Because here's the truth. The only limits that exist in your life are the ones you create in your mind. If you believe you're capable, if you believe you're worthy, if you believe you can do it, then you will. But if you let doubt and fear and negativity run your life, you'll stay stuck in changing the way you think. Doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It takes time. It takes consistency, but the more you practice positive self-talk, the more you reinforce those positive beliefs, the more they become a part of who you are. And once you start believing in yourself, really believing, that's when everything else starts to fall in place. Let's get real for a second. A lot of people want change, but they don't want to do the work. They want the success, but they don't want the struggle. They want the rewards, but they don't want the responsibility. But here's the truth. There is no shortcut to fixing yourself. There is no easy way out. If you want to change your life, you've got to be willing to put in the work. You've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. You've got to be willing to push yourself past your limits, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. Because that's where growth happens. That's where transformation happens. Not in your comfort zone, but in the struggle, in the discipline, in the consistency. It's about showing up for yourself every day, even when it's hard, even when you don't see the results right away, even when you feel like quitting. That's what separates the people who succeed from the people who stay stuck. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's grit, it's resilience, it's the willingness to keep going no matter what. And let me tell you something else. Fixing yourself isn't about being perfect. It's not about never making mistakes. It's about progress. It's about learning from your failures and using them to get better. Because you're going to mess up, you're going to fall short, you're going to have setbacks. But the people who succeed are the ones who don't let those setbacks define them. They get back up, they learn the lesson, and they keep moving forward. So if you're waiting for a perfect time to start, if you're waiting until you've got everything figured out, if you're waiting until you feel ready, stop waiting. There is no perfect time. There is no moment when you're going to feel completely ready. You've just got to start. You've got to take that first step, even if it's small, even if it's scary, even if you don't know exactly where it's going to lead. Because the only way to fix yourself is to take action, to do the work, to show up for yourself day in and day out. And here's the last thing I'll say: fixing yourself is a lifelong process. It's not something you do once and then you're done. It's something you've got to commit to every single day, because life is constantly changing. New challenges are always going to come your way. And if you're not constantly growing, constantly evolving, constantly self to be better, you're going to get stuck. So commit to the process, commit to the work, commit to becoming the best version of yourself. Even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it feels like you're not making progress. Because the truth is, you are making progress. Every small step you take, every positive habit you build, if you choose growth over comfort, you're moving closer to the person you're meant to be. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being better than you were yesterday. It's about showing up for yourself over and over again, no matter, because the only way to fail is to quit. And as long as you keep going, as long as you keep pushing yourself, you're winning. You're growing. You're fixing yourself one step at a time. Lastly, fixing yourself means taking care of your spiritual and emotional health. I don't care how successful you are, how much money you make, or how many goals you achieve. If your emotional and spiritual health is out of balance, you'll never feel fulfilled. You've got to take care of the inside just as much as the outside. You've got to find peace within yourself, because without that, everything else is just noise. It's temporary, it's surface level. Let me tell you something: success doesn't mean a damn thing if you're not at peace with who you are. You can chase all the money, the accolades, the recognition, but at the end of the day, if you're not right with yourself, none of that matters. So you've got to invest in your emotional health. That means learning how to deal with stress, how to manage your emotions, how to process your pain instead of running from it. It means learning how to forgive yourself and others. It means letting go of grudges and bitterness, because those things will eat you alive if you let them. Now let's talk about spirituality for a second. Now I'm not here to tell you what to believe or what faith to follow. That's a personal journey. But I will say this: you've got to have something bigger than yourself to hold on to, whether it's faith in God, faith in the universe, or just faith in the goodness of life. You said life, believe in something greatest, because when times get tough, when life hits you hard, and trust me, you need that foundation to keep you grounded. You need something to turn to when everything else feels like it's falling apart. So take time to nurture your spirit. Take time to connect with whatever it is that gives you strength, that gives you purpose, that helps you make sense of the chaos. Because when you're spiritually strong, when you've got that inner peace, nothing can shake you. Life can throw its worst at you, but you'll be able to stand tall because you know who you are and what you believe in.